Kamala and her group have seen what's happening to their campaign, and it's not going well for them. And they would like, just announced a little while ago as I was coming off the plane, they would like to do another debate. Although, good entertainment value. A lot of people say, oh, do it, it's great entertainment. I've already done two. One with Crooked Joe Biden at CNN, and the other one with Kamala on ABC. CNN was very fair, I thought. Joe was driven out of the race. It was a coup, by the way, but he was driven out of the race. And they've been widely criticized by the radical left lunatics for all of the fairness. They were very fair. In other words, they won't be fair again because they took a lot of abuse from the radical left. ABC was 3-on-1, but I was given credit for having done a very, very good job. I appreciate that. We did a great job. It was 3-on-1. The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on, and I waited, and they turned it down. But now she wants to do a debate right before the election with CNN because she's losing badly. You know, it's like a fighter. She sees the pulse. She sees what's happening. She's losing badly, but it's like a fighter who goes into the ring and gets knocked out. The first thing he says is, I want a rematch. I want a rematch.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the Kamala campaign that, in my humble opinion, okay, I think behind closed doors, they are in panic mode. Now, why do I say that I believe they're in panic mode? Well, the reason why I believe they're in panic mode is because everybody is getting this feeling that the polls are BS, okay? And the polls, although they have been good for Kamala, they've been okay for Kamala, really. She's not performing as well as she should be performing compared to how Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton were performing when they ran for president under the Democrat nomination, okay? So that spells bad news for Kamala Harris because everybody knows that Trump tends to overperform in the general election, okay? When it's actually time to vote, Trump shows up, shows out, or the voters show up, they show out, and they vote for Trump, right? And this is something that the polls have struggled to capture. And everybody knows this, including the Kamala campaign and the mainstream liberal media as well, too, which is why I believe that behind closed doors, there's some panic, okay? Because even Anderson Cooper, who's a CNN anchor, okay, he came out and basically said, well, I work in this industry, but I believe that these polls are BS, right? Like, I don't buy these polls showing that Kamala Harris is leading Trump, that she's beating Trump in this race.
For Anderson Cooper, one of the big stories out there right now is the polling bump for Harris following the debate. Now, I don't know whether to trust polls. We were supposed to trust them in 2016, and they were wrong. In 2020, they were pretty wrong.
Trump has traditionally underperformed in these polls.
So how do you approach polls? I mean, there's polling and there's trends. How do you approach what's going on in the polling? Do you care?
I mean, I report on them. I think they're interesting to talk about and look at, and particularly when you dive deep on certain subjects, like who's seems to, what trend lines are there.
You living in the crosstabs is what you're saying?
Yes. We have some great people who look at polls. But in truth, just deep down inside, I don't think I buy them. Like, I just don't. It's like, I'm sure some are accurate. I'm not casting aspersions.
Please start your report with that and go like, we've got some new polls, and frankly, who the knows? But we'll do it. We'll do it.
It's like, to me, it's like, it's baby pigeons.
What's baby pigeons?
It's baby pigeons. They exist. I haven't seen them, but they exist. And I know they exist. But
oh, that's true.
Yes.
I live in New York. I see pigeons everywhere, but I never see a baby pigeon.
Yes, it's true. I've never seen a baby pigeon. I was very excited, though, this summer on I live in an old firehouse, and on my roof, there was a pigeon nest, and there was an egg in it. So I just think the pigeon stole the egg from somebody else and put it there, but I waited for it to hatch, and I never saw it hatch.
Yeah, so when a CNN anchor is openly saying out loud on national television that he doesn't believe the polls, that's a bad sign, right? That's actually a terrible sign, okay? Because this guy's job is to present the polls as if they are legitimate sources of information to figure out who's currently leading the race and how things are going. And if this guy is saying, well, I'm not even sure if I believe it, again, it really shows you kind of what a lot of these people believe behind closed doors, right? And again, the word on the street is that Kamala Harris's internal polls are not as good as the polls that are being shown to the public, right? Internally, their campaign knows that Kamala Harris, if the election was held today, she'd probably lose, okay? And you know this because Kamala Harris has come out and basically started begging for another debate. Now, why would she be begging for another debate if she felt like she actually won the last debate? Well, it's because she didn't actually win the last debate, right? Why didn't she win the last debate? Well, the reason why she didn't win the last debate is because she did not do enough during the debate to sway independent voters or people who may be willing to not vote for Trump, right? She didn't sway anybody to really vote for her and to support her, okay? She didn't really get the bump that she was looking for from that debate, and they personally believe it's because Kamala never had her moment, right? She did not have the moment that she was really looking for, the defining moment that would have put Trump away. So they want to have another debate in October on CNN, late October, about 2 weeks before the election starts. And President Trump has already come out and said, no, we're not having another debate because I've already done 2 debates, one against Biden. We knocked him out. Y'all replaced Joe Biden with Kamala Harris via coup. Okay. And I debated Kamala Harris on ABC, and ABC rigged the debate in front of the world to see, right? Everybody could see that the ABC moderators were overtly pro Kamala Harris, right? They were refusing to fact check Kamala Harris. They only focused on attacking Trump. In fact, it was really a debate between the ABC moderators and Trump, and Kamala Harris was just there, right? I mean, that is what the debate was, okay? Again, you know this because after the debate, she didn't really get the bump that she was looking for, right? Didn't really get the bump, despite the fact that everybody claimed that she won a debate, right? Oh, well, Kamala won a debate. Well, did she really win the debate if her poll numbers aren't getting better, right? If her poll numbers are not getting better, did she really win it? Okay, because the whole point of the debate is to make more people support you. If more people aren't supporting you after the debate, then does it really matter who won the debate, right? It doesn't really matter who won if you didn't sway anybody to your side, right? So again, we know this to be the case because they're now begging for a second debate. Now, again, Trump has turned down that second debate, and this is the response from the Kamala Harris team to Trump turning down a second debate on CNN in late October. Take a look.
But then he said, you know, he doesn't need what he would call a rematch because he felt like he won that last debate against Harris.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I mean, listen, I think we've been very clear since the debate on September 10th that the American people deserve to see what they saw on that debate stage once again before they cast their ballots on October 23rd in Atlanta. And listen, it would be unprecedented in modern American presidential history for the 2 candidates who are running to only engage in one debate. So we believe that the American people deserve to see that. Donald Trump himself has said, he said many things when it comes to debates, but he's famously said he's willing to debate anytime, anywhere, any place. He thinks he won both debates. So he should have no problem showing up to show off his prowess once again on the debate stage. And we think that's what the American people deserve to see. There have been more updates since the last debate, right? As the American people begin to tune in and understand the stakes of this election. We see it playing out in states like Georgia, where we have the first confirmed preventable death due to Donald Trump's abortion ban. So there are still questions that the American people have for these candidates that they want to see us debate on the debate stage. And so if Donald Trump is willing to show up on October 23rd, that's what the American people will see.
Yeah, so you've seen that, you heard that. Okay, so what you can see is that Harris's debate performance fell short of moving the needle in swing states, okay? And that is why she's begging for another debate, because she wants another crack at Trump, and she's trying to hit that home run. But she doesn't have the ability to hit the home run, right? I mean, she's getting softball after softball interview, and I'm telling you, she can't hit the home run. Like, she's just swinging and missing, right? I mean, that is what's happening over and over and over again, but they're trying to get one, okay? And Trump is saying, no, you're not going to get that on me. I'm not going to allow you to get that on me. I'm not going to give you a chance. You had your one chance, and now I'm not doing a debate. Now, it's funny because here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. Kamala had only planned on doing one debate, right? But because she didn't get the result that she wanted, now she wants a second debate. If Kamala really wanted to debate, right, to continue to have debates, then she should have accepted the Fox News debate. Because she rejected the initial Fox News debate, which she should have did, then Trump has every right to reject the CNN debate. 100%. 100%. He doesn't have to do the debate. She should have did the Fox News debate. So at this point, I really don't think it matters. Okay, I don't think that the American people need to really see both of them debate anymore. Even though I would like to see it, right? I would like to see Trump perform a lot better than he did in the initial debate with Kamala Harris. But I already know we're getting out of Trump, right? I know what we got out of the 4 years that we had Trump in office. I have a pretty good idea of what we're going to get out of him in the next 4 years. I'm satisfied, right? I'm good, okay? Kamala Harris is the candidate that still has questions, right? She has to answer those questions, and not doing a debate is going to take away opportunities for her to answer questions. And the Kamala campaign knows she needs to answer questions. Again, this is why they're now rolling her out for these softball interviews, because she has to answer those questions. A lot of voters have basically said, I can't vote for Kamala Harris because I don't know enough about her, right? So that's what's happening here. I think they're in panic mode, and they should be in panic mode. And I want to react to CNN and some of the scenarios that they are trying to project here in regards to what could currently happen considering the current state of the race. So without further ado, let's get into it.
My goodness gracious, could the race be any tighter in these battleground states? Look, in the Great Lakes, you got Harris by 2 in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, well within the margin of error. How about in the Sun Belt, though? It's even tighter. You got a 1-point race in Nevada favoring Kamala Harris. You got a less than 1-point race in North Carolina, Trump ahead, but we're talking about like 0.2 percentage points. Arizona, a 1-point advantage. Georgia, a 1-point advantage for Donald Trump. The race, very, very close. Now, let's just say the polls were exactly right. What does that mean for the electoral map? Well, it would mean a really tight race. Look at this. Kamala Harris getting 276 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 262, mostly on the basis of winning these Great Lake battleground states, despite the fact that Trump carries 3 of the 4 Sunbelt battleground states. But the bottom line is, Kate Baldwin and dear audience, this race is tight, tight, tight.
No. Yeah, and see, here's the thing. If you assume that the polls are exactly right, which is a bad assumption, then again, this is a disaster scenario for Kamala Harris because she's basically barely winning. Now, we know, considering history, 2016 and 2020, that Trump overperforms. So if Trump overperforms just marginally, right, just marginally, he's winning in a landslide, which is what CNN is basically going to go over right now.
Now, in the realm of playing the hypotheticals.
Yes.
So let's do that.
Yes, I love those.
Comparing how, if the polling is off, if the polling is off like it was in 2020, what would that do to the electoral map?
So look at Donald Trump's electoral vote total right now, if the polls are exactly right, 262. But let's say the polls are off like they were back in 2020. Look where he goes. He goes to 312. Why is that? Because the polls underestimated Donald Trump in 2020. So the bottom line is, instead of losing those Great Lake battleground states, he wins all of them. He obviously holds on to North Carolina, Georgia, and Arizona, and he gains Nevada. So if the polls are as good as they were in 2020, despite the fact that at this particular hour Donald Trump trails in enough states to give Kamala Harris the victory, if the polls are off like they were in 2020, Donald Trump would actually win the election.
Now, again, here's the thing about this. Considering history, this is probably more likely to be the scenario than for the polls to be exactly correct, right? So that's the way you got to look at it. What is the percentage chance that the polls are off like they were in 2016, 2020, that it's just really hard to poll Trump supporters, okay? They can't really capture Trump support, right? They underestimate Trump support. What is the likelihood that that's what's currently happening versus the polls being exactly right, right? Did the polls actually figure it out, right, this year, right? Did they figure it out? Did they get it right? We will see. I personally believe there's a better chance that the polls are off like they were in 2016 and in 2020. And again, the problem is that Trump is performing better today than he has ever performed, really, going into an election, which again is a terrible sign for Kamala Harris. So he doesn't even have to have the same performance that he had in 2020 in the sense that he's going to outperform as much as he did in 2020. No, it could be somewhere in between, right? In between these polls and where he performed in 2020. And that still would be enough to beat Kamala Harris.
There are big elections since 2020 that involved 2022 midterms. What if it was off? Then now compare it to polling offage of 2022.
Look, I think a lot of people are focusing on the 2020 polling, Aaron, believing, oh, the polls always underestimate Republicans. Not always, because look at what happens if the polls are off like they were in 2022. Well, Kamala Harris goes from losing that election to winning it with 319 electoral votes. Why? Because the polls underestimated Democrats in 2022. So Kamala Harris gets back all of these Great Lake battleground states, but she adds to her column North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada. So the bottom line is this race is way too close to call, and the past elections show us it's way too close to call because polls are a tool. They are not Nostradamus.
It is interesting to look at it in this way, though. Just reminding us all, in summary, just stand by to stand by.
Stand by to stand by.
Yeah, no, so here's the thing. Again, it's all about which scenario is the most likely to play out. The problem with comparing it to 2022 is that 2022 was not a general election. Also, Trump wasn't in the race. So when you're trying to predict who becomes president or who's going to get the most electoral votes based off an election that was not a general election, right, where you didn't have a presidential candidate at the top of the ticket and you didn't have Trump, it probably doesn't apply, right? It's probably a small chance of this type of scenario playing out, right? You're probably better off believing the trends that happened in 2016 and 2020 rather than 2022. Now, that's not to say that 2022, there's no factor at all that could go into this race. Certainly there is. The abortion thing, again, we live in a post-Roe v. Wade world, so you have to assume that she's going to get some boost because of the abortion issue, right? And the polls failed to capture that in the 2022 midterms, right? That's why the polls were off. They failed to capture that type of support. Now, it's impossible to say whether or not they have accurately accounted for the 304 vote this time around, just like it's basically impossible to say if they've accurately accounted for the pro-Trump vote this time around either, right? It's hard to say either way, right? But that's why I say that the most likely scenario is probably that you're going to get a little bit of both, right? You're going to get that pro-Trump boost that they have a hard time polling. You're going to get the 304 boost because of the abortion stuff. And that's why I said the most likely scenario is that you're going to have some result that is in between 2020, right, in regards to the overperformance from Trump, but also you're going to probably have Kamala Harris do a little bit better as well, too. It's just about which effect is stronger, right, and more likely to play out. In my opinion, because everything is so close, Trump doesn't have to overperform that much, right? It's just a point. If he overperforms by just a point, he wins, right? If he overperforms by 2 points, then he wins. And the polls going back to 2019 and 2020, Trump was overperforming by 5, 6, 7, 8 points in a lot of these states. So again, I wouldn't get too concerned until Kamala Harris starts to hit Biden numbers, right? If Kamala Harris starts to hit Biden numbers, then I would say, okay, although we know that the polls are wrong, she's doing well enough that it would warrant being concerned about, okay, can Trump actually overperform, right? If Kamala starts to get up by 7, 8, 9 points on average, which is where Biden was at kind of going into the election, then it's like, okay, well, can he actually recover that much ground, right? We know the polls are incorrect. We know they're BS, but again, it's about by how much, right? That's the real question. How much of the polls are BS? Because they're not all BS, right? They're somewhat accurate. You just got to measure how inaccurate are they, right? And then you can kind of gouge where you're at, right? So again, although the polls are BS, they're not completely useless. And it's pretty safe to say that the Kamala Harris team, they're definitely not satisfied where things are, right? They're definitely concerned because they're asking for this second debate, right? If they felt good about where Kamala is at right now, they wouldn't be asking for the second debate. We know that Kamala didn't even really want to do the first debate, okay? So, at this point, I think it's a good sign that Kamala's begging for another debate. And I don't think that Trump needs to debate her again. However, I wouldn't mind if he changed his mind and said, okay, I'll debate you, right? But only if he's actually prepared this time, okay? If Trump is actually prepared this time and he actually goes in and does what he needs to do or what he should have done in the first debate, is over, right? It's over. So, it could backfire, right? I'm just saying, if Trump just prepares, he could actually really just knock Kamala Harris out in the second debate, but he actually has to turn in a good performance, right? So that's my only caveat about Trump doing the second debate. Either way, he doesn't really have to do it, right? If he doesn't do it, it's fine, right? I don't think it really matters that much. If anything, he's basically refusing to give Kamala Harris that moment that she's looking for. And, you know, I don't think that that's a bad bet from President Trump. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.